Hi, everyone. From me, Brent Graham at the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters, and it's powered this week by POKERBET. It is, of course, a Six Nations weekend. We're going to talk about that. There's plenty of other rugby to talk about. In fact, some of it today we're not even going to touch on. One of my guests, Darren and myself, were chatting just before the show. You really have to pick your rugby games at the moment. I used to remember 3 rugby games a weekend when I was growing up. Now, I haven't even counted. But if you're going to go into top 14 and that, you're talking some ridiculous amounts of rugby. But really, it's great from a betting perspective. But let me bring Darren in straight away. Darren Kramer from POKERBET. Darren, good to have you back on the show, first of all. And as a punter, though, you've got to pick your battles a little bit this weekend.
Oh, thanks. Happy to be back. No, it's crazy. I know you were laughing and joking me about this Currie Cup into the top 14, the URC, everything. The Super Rugby, which the more I watch, the more I'm happy that South Africa left it. It's basically touch rugby on steroids. Just kind of trying to identify which things appeal the most to you. If I want to stay married, pick my battles on which tournaments, and then act accordingly. So definitely, at the moment, it's URC and Six Nations for sure. And occasionally the 5:30 a.m. with a 2-year-old daughter, some Pacifica rugby.
Yeah, that's an ample to watch. And another man who loves his rugby and seems to follow virtually every league. It's Harry Jones. Harry, good to have you back on the show. Which part of the world are you in the States at the moment?
Yeah, how's it? I'm sleepy in Seattle right now. No. So actually, to be a Bach watcher, to watch Bach and Bach possibles, you have to watch everything. Japan, England, the French. So I do think it's actually very challenging right now to keep up with the amount.
Excellent. Well, just before we get into the Six Nations, just to congratulate the 3 winners of our handicap competition, which we ran in the forum, came down to a playoff last week. So Southpaw Alan Marscrop, I'm hoping he'll be able to join us next week. He's won a 3,000 Rand free bet on the Rugby World Cup, Darren. And
awesome.
have won the 1,000 Rand. I actually did quite a good job in that competition.
Nice.
Martin, I haven't met him. Martin, he made contact with me, and I asked him if he had a POKERBET account. He says, yes, he plays poker regularly there as well. So he won the 500 Rand. So just as a matter of interest, do you have any prices there or indications, Darren, at this stage? I'm not going to place my bet now. We'll probably do it next week. But I'm looking at the prices of Ireland and Australia in particular.
Yeah, I haven't actually. I need to actually pick it up, but I think you said 8-2. I think it's about 8-1 Australia, if that be corrected.
8-1 Oz.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I'm sure Ireland must be second favourites behind France, probably. But anyway, if any of the boys in the live chat and
9-2. I think it was around 4.5-1 around that market. It was interesting. It felt like England and Ireland. England, obviously, because of the draw, were kind of second favourites. South Africa just behind.
Right.
If I can be corrected, yeah, I think it was like a 9-2 and sort of 5-1 South Africa, which still tempts me. Maybe it's my loyalty speaking.
That's it. And just well done to Peter Paul. He won last week. I just quickly had a look. He won last week's competition. We've also got Nathan Mallinson made contact with him. I'll be sending his details through. He's also a bit of a poker player as well, and we'll get his prize to him. Harry, just a quick one. Oraclepedia, the Oracle watching. We're also broadcasting out on his channel as well. And he's asking, when is Harry coming to Cape Town? Now, you do not have to answer this question, Harry. If you do, you're going to be obliged to meet the Oracle.
No, I think this is on. I'm going to have more details soon, but it's weeks, not months.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Oracle's wife reckons you look like you were working on a trawler there, Harry. Let's get into the Six Nations. I just want to get my order right of events here. We're going to go into the Six Nations. We've got 3 matches to talk about this weekend. But Harry, just before we get into them, I just want to bring up something that you posted on Twitter. Perhaps just talk the punters through this quickly, what you were posting there, and we can they can go onto Twitter if they want to get a copy of this.
Yeah, I don't like the boring old stats where we just have number of carries or number of line breaks. I don't think actually it correlates to how teams win or actually play. So I did this kind of bespoke stats, and maybe the guys will like this. But for example, you can see that Finn the Maverick. You can see it. He's the top offloader in the competition, but he's also the one that loses the most turnovers. You can see that someone like Gael Fico, you can see that he actually is very tidy with his offloading. Don Brandt is still learning how to do that. You can also see that England features very heavily in turnovers lost. Go back to the team sheets, you see that Their turnovers lost 43, turnovers won 14. It's a big problem. And it's one of the biggest explanations of why they're continuing to pick the wrong loose forward trio. Compare that to the French, and you see that it could be problems for them. Other thing is, look at Ireland. They're not running over people. They're not bashing through people. They don't cause a lot of tackle busts. And they're not getting a lot of meters per carry. That's not how they're playing. They're playing to space, which could be a problem in the World Cup. But you look at the French, and they are running through people. So, I just kind of put this together, and you have one insight for each one. Ireland needs to get Gary Rinrose more involved. Duhan the ball for Scotland. England needs to actually have more, strong carries and kick contests. And then you look at Italy and Wales, and you can see immediately Italy does not kick enough. So these are just stats that you can season and do what you want with them, but they could help you when you're picking.
Right, well, welcome to the boys on the live chat. WJS joining us there. You can give us maybe some Gallagher Premiership picks. We're not going to really get a chance to even look at those tonight. And Nathan Madison saying, Harry, what's your Twitter handle? And Nathan, I'll happily WhatsApp that to you, but it's at Harry Baldy Jones, if I'm not mistaken, Harry.
Yeah, Garibaldi is my hero from Italy, so I just took his name and made it Haribaldi.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, let's get into the Six Nations action now. We're going to go into the first game. Darren, I'm going to start with you. We've got Italy plus 1.5 points against Wales. I think Italy actually opened favourites. It looks like there's been some support for Wales, which I must say, Darren's a little bit surprising to me because virtually every punter I know likes Italy in this game. And most of them are lining it up. But at the same time, I mean, I guess anyone will admit that the bookies have pretty much got this one right. I mean, it's not an easy game to call this one. We got a points line of 47.5.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say, I've been loving Italy, the Six Nations. I don't know, I think I've backed them on every single spread, and I think they've won every time. They're heavily underrated. I'm always scared when they are away from home with this open style running rugby. If any teams actually don't miss tackles and put pressure on them in their own 22, as Harry said, they just don't kick. But I do think this is one game that I actually fancy them to win. I think that Wales, it's taking time for them to, I mean, they've been absolutely useless, to be honest. Time for them to even get back to even a mirror image of where they were in the last World Cup. And I think I'm just impressed with the Italian team at home. I think the crowd gets behind them. They're playing an attractive brand. And just in terms of Wales on attack, they just offer very little. I watched against that England game. They suffocated them for a while. They put pressure. They did the basics. But, yeah, I am surprised. I probably would have made it, not a big favorite, -1.5 Italy, probably in that it would be if I had to pick. So, yeah, I think, Italy's kind of edge that. What I really like is if somehow you can take a double with an alternate handicap, like a bigger +7.5, +8.5 Italy. That I really like. I just don't think they're getting killed in that game. I don't see Wales putting a lot past them. So that into what the other game later on, which I like an alternate. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that kind of for now.
I'm just chucking to myself because you talk about an alternative double. So last week's best bet newsletter went out. Now I like the Lions, but for some, I mean, I also like the force of it on the handicap last weekend, right? So the alternative double was like Lions plus 18.5, which romped them. I mean, they won the game against them. And then I thought, well, how many points to the force should he need? So my second leg was at 7-20. I took the force plus 14.5 against the Reds. They lost the game by 49 points. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes you take that, but I like that tactic. And I know at the Crow Tips on Twitter as well, he likes his doubles and trebles where he takes 2 or 3 short prices and he gets it up to sort of even money. And, you're still getting an even money bet at the end of the day. You've just got to sit through 3 games. And I also think that if you had to pick a strategy to make money in the long run, I think that wouldn't be a bad strategy. Take what you fancy and then discount it and then take 2 of them or 3 of them together. So you do that as a punter, Darren?
Yeah, so I think you take a bit of variance out. I do it occasionally as a punter when I feel like there's small margins in certain games, often over the 7 points, is key because obviously teams will, even if they're 8-9 behind, kick a penalty to have the last 5 minutes to try score a try. So I think if ever it's a difference between taking 3.5 and getting to the 7, it is a big, big difference. So often I will do that on those lines. And in the Six Nations generally, I mean, probably get proven wrong. But often a lot of them are very close. No real blowouts. Obviously, Italy away is always one of that you have to worry about. But generally, same thing. I just can't see an Ireland blowing Scotland to pieces in Murrayfield winning by 20. Might be wrong, but generally, the home teams are pretty competitive in this competition.
Excellent. Well, WJ is putting up some Gallagher Premiership thoughts. I've starred that comment, so I'm going to come back to that one at the end. But let's get Harry's opinion on this Italy-Wales game. Harry, should Italy be going into this game as favourites?
It's a dangerous pick, this match. I wouldn't really put a lot of money on this one because the best player for Italy has been Angie Copiozzo, and he's not out. He's not playing. And I think anytime you're relying on a guy like that to make breaks and then he's gone, you're in trouble because Italy's been playing a counter-attack style. So who's going to ignite? He's like the Willy LaRue kind of type where comes on the back and be a second receiver or red zone number 10. However, Paolo Garbisi's back and he's playing well and he kicks well. So I don't think, I agree. I think they're not going to be shut out or smashed in this one. I just wonder, though, at what point does Wales play for more than just this game, but for their pride as a country, as one of the great rugby nations? It's hard to believe that the Welsh have forgotten how to be Welsh and that the Italians are playing more like Welsh. And I think this is one of those matches where I would not be surprised if Wales plays their best match in a while. That being said, their attack is absolute shit. And so three tries in 3 rounds, and one of them was intercept. So they're not developing real opportunities in the red zone. So I think you would look at this match and say maybe at the end of it, it's kind of a low-scoring slog. I would say Wales, if they're going to be in it, will do what Welsh have always done very well, which is make it difficult. Maybe play negative rugby and just say we're not going to lose this one. So. And
would you say then 47.5 points? Would you be going under?
Yeah, I would.
I can see it being like that, as you say, a bit of a hard slog. I mean, for both teams at the end of the day, they're out the Six Nations, but not finishing last is huge, and for probably for different reasons for the two teams. And I think this is going to be a big game, and I'm also not expecting a lot of points. Darren, any thoughts on the points in this game?
I agree with both of you. I think the under in that. Wales just never, I said I don't say never, but it's hard to see Wales putting 30 points past Italy in this game. So generally would think it'd be a slog. I think that's Wales' best chance of winning. Make it boring. Boring the Italians. Let it keep kicking the ball deep into their 22. Let them run back at them. Get some penalties. And they'll slot them over. So yeah, I think unders. For sure.
Sounds like they're one of those games, and quite a few people have said it, even in the live chat here and on our forum and on Twitter. They've said, okay, just be careful of this game. Probably not the best game of the weekend to get overly involved in. And listening to both of you, I get the sense you're very much in that camp as well. Right, let's go on to the next game. It's England up against France. Harry, I'll start with you. Yeah, we got the English slight underdogs. They've got an excellent record. I was looking at Twickenham against France. They really have always stepped up against it. But this is a very different England team, perhaps, than what we've seen in the past. And I guess, France, better than they've been in most seasons at Twickenham, although they haven't been at their best in this competition. We got a +1.5 and a points line of 46.5.
I cannot wait for this match. This is the one I'm really looking forward to. You have Borthwick, who reminds me of a character in a Guy Ritchie movie. Like he's forming kind of this kind of cast of characters. He's named 2 Ollies, 2 Alexes, 2 Jacks, 2 Henrys. I wish there was some more Harrys, but he's going to come at this, I think, with all guns blazing. The French do not do well at Twickenham, like you said. They usually underplay there. I'm not sure the French are actually a good road team in general, but I think the big change is that Jonathan Danty is back. If you look at the French attack and how it stumbled, a lot of it's because they're used to playing through Danty. He sets a ruck target, almost like Jean de Villiers did back in the day. Just get someone upfield, a quick recycle. And I think they've struggled without him. So I'm actually thinking that the English loose trio being not so good on the ground is going to be a problem here. And I think the French are going to take this. Part of that's because I think the English are still swapping and changing between Owen, Marcus. The very thing that you thought Borthwick would not do, he's repeating, which is, not building any kind of continuity in the midfield. I also think Jack van Poortvliet's not a very good test player at this point in his career. So I think he's up against, Dupont, who hasn't played his best, but even his medium is very good. So I think maybe he'll bring his best. So I'm actually going to go Francophile on this one. I think the French are going to put a marker down. I think they've been playing, a little bit too dainty. I think they're going to play daunty this time.
Right. I also like the French, I must admit. But then again, people who know me will know I'm historically always had a soft spot for the French. But I think they're going to do the job against England there. But I do think it's going to be one hell of a tight contest, and probably not a hell of a lot in it come the end of the game. Darren, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so well, it's a very interesting game. I mean, when Borthwick came in, I always thought that, I don't like to see England succeed, but I thought that this Marcus Smith was the only way to go for the future, and if they really want to win the World Cup. I felt like Farrell's form has dropped, even at Saracens. His kicking percentages aren't as high as they used to be, and that's where he was just ruthless, right? You put it anywhere within 40 meters from Farrell, he puts it over.
He was the best in the world at one point, and
exactly.
he's not anymore. That's
I even laugh from I play fantasy rugby, Six Nations, and you get points for like meters or whatever. Even against Italy, the man couldn't give me any points, Farrell. He literally doesn't even take contact anymore. It's just unbelievable. He kicks all passes before anyone's within 10 meters. So I think it's an interesting one. I think maybe Borthwick, I don't like the change thing. And personally, I think he should have committed to Smith, but it's obviously scary being so close to the World Cup. I think the Smith-Lawrence combination is interesting. Probably a tough one to start it against this French team who, as you say, with Dante back, are going to be strong. Ficou defense, they're going to be very strong defensively. So I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be tough for Marcus because I feel like it's just scary. He played really well in the Premiership. It was superb, actually, even though Exeter looked like they didn't want to be there. And I don't know. It's like it feels like he's got to perform this. Or what does Borthwick do now? They're going to lose by 10 points. Is he going to go back to Farrell? What's he going to do? The chop and changing. So I think as I said, I don't like it that he's been chosen as this is the game to prove it. So it's a lot of pressure on him.
And just to go quickly to Harry on the whole Farrell Smith thing, is it just a case of changing, or do you think this might be Borthwick saying, right, he's given Farrell almost a chance? Is this his way of saying if these guys perform, he might be moving away from Farrell? Because I actually agree 100% with Darren. I was a massive Farrell fan in terms of ability, but I do think he's lost that. And my view is that England should be moving on from him before the World Cup. Is it that, or do you think it's just a case of rotating at this stage?
No, I think it's two buckets because it's the captaincy issue. So I think that Borthwick is okay now, having been around Ellis Genge longer, maybe understand him more, to say, Ellis, you're our man. And I think that that change helps him understand how to use Owen. For a long time, it was like he's the captain, so he has to start. And it was like a reverse logic. Then he's missing his kicks. I think Borthwick is a very pragmatic coach. And he's like, no, I'm not going to have a 10 who misses his kicks. Marcus is actually a pretty good kicker. He's not viewed like that, but his percentages are high. So I think it was a very pragmatic solution. And then I think he also might be signaling we're moving on the captaincy issue. I've always thought that Owen would play better without being captain. I always thought that I just think it's too much to have him be both. But, I think it's that. And I think that also the way they want to play with Dombrandt being number 8, it makes more sense if you have Dombrandt 8 that you're going to have Marcus at 10. And then if you have Henry Slade in the midfield, again, it's a compatible thing. When you had Owen playing with Dombrandt and Stanley Slade, it kind of doesn't really make sense to me.
Right, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how things pan out for England as the World Cup comes along. Welcome to Alan Schultz coming in on the comment section. Alan, a good friend of mine going back many years. He hopes Smith runs close to a ruck with Paul Willems. That's right, Alan. Alan, I know you've been in contact with the Oracle lately. Good to see you on the Oracle's group there as well. Right, just before we move into the next game, okay, we're going to do a bit of a competition. We'll also next week is the last week of Six Nations. We'll definitely have a few things lined up in the forum and that during the week. But we're going to give away R1,000 POKERBET voucher on this one. Predict the winner, margin, and total points. We'll stick with the usual format in Scotland v Ireland. So I want to know Ireland by how many points or Scotland by how many points, and then the actual total points, which will be the tiebreaker, and that'll be for the guys in the live chat. So you can get going on that one as we speak to this game. But I just want to bring Darren in quickly because Darren, I've been playing a lot of poker on your site. And I'm first of all thoroughly enjoying it. I think it could cause me problems down the line, just in terms of I need to see. I'm not very good at setting deadlines. The other night I started playing. It was actually load shedding like this, and I started playing at 8 o'clock. And I said I'll play from 8 to 10, and then I said okay, I'll push to 11. And I went to bed at 2:30. There were only 2 guys on the site, me and the guy I was playing against. It was absolutely ridiculous. But the thing I want to ask you about just quickly is, and I think it's an excellent promotion. And look, it's purely we're purely talking poker players.
Yes.
But you've got a promotion this month in March that your first deposit in March, up to a maximum of 5,000 rand, gets matched once you played 1,000 raked hands of poker.
Yeah.
And I must say, I must be getting pretty damn close now. I know a friend, he's a guy who's on your site, and he didn't know about the promotion. He suddenly said to me, I've had 500 rand credited to my account. I said, I think you've hit 1,000 hands in about 2 days there, And you must be seeing quite a bit of guys depositing, because I think that's a cracking promo.
I mean, I laugh. The support, literally about, 100, 200 emails a day from people going, how many hands have we played? And they'll be 85, and then they'll email about 4 hours later, how many hands? Sir, you're only on 93. You haven't played that much, But it's been great. I think we've actually had about 100 guys already, which is amazing in a week, who have managed to deposit, as I said, anything up to 5,000 rand, getting their 5,000 rand match. So it's extra 5, you love to play anyway, so you're getting a little 5,000 extra in your account. And it's, it's been well received and taken. It's been, just trying to give something back.
Well, Peter Paul, I'm actually pleased he is playing poker, and he says he raked his 1,000 hands in a week.
You see, he's one of them,
He's also raked about 1,000 betting vouchers from us at this time. He's been absolutely spot on in a lot of the competitions. So good to see he's putting it back then in the form of deposits as well. Henrik Swart, I've seen him. He's the undertaker there. He loves the poker as well there. So, and he also likes the fact that you can play it on your phone. So good to get some positive feedback from the boys there. But let's move into then the next match, Darren. I'm going to start with you, and it's we've got Scotland here plus 6.5 against the Irish, and we've got a points line of 44.5. What are your views on this one? I mean, this is ultimately, you've got to think that, if Ireland win this game, they're going to win the Six Nations.
That's it.
I mean, if Scotland can pull an upset, we've suddenly, got some potential.
Yeah, we had it last week. I mean, so I see it's there 6.5. I did love the 7.5. Get a bit nervous. It's like that 1 point is pretty key. Scotland are going to be so fired up for this. This is huge. I mean, they're playing good rugby, big rivals. Obviously, Ireland look by far the slickest, doing what they're always doing, timing things perfectly before a World Cup, and then not pitching up. But I really, really think that Scotland will go very close here. I think it might be a penalty either way. Ireland could nick it. But I think this is, as I said, penalty either way. If you can get that 7.5, if you shop around, before I got on the show, I actually phoned my bookie and took +7 just in case, you're watching the show. And obviously can't bet on my own site. That would be,
I was going to say, you make sure that you're banned from betting on your own site, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Can't have a bet. Can't play poker, can't have a bet there. So I've got to find other solutions. But it doesn't stop me from betting. I really like the Scotland +7. That is, for me, of the 3 matches, probably the only one that I would bet, to be honest. And Scotland +7 has got my money 10 minutes before the show started.
Right, I can see the excitement.
And just one thing I will say, Stormers, one thing I just want to say, very happy that Hugh Jones Rugby turned a corner when he was at the Stormers. Proud of that. I was excited. Actually, this week, even 3 days ago, John Dobson actually walked into the POKERBET office. He was just had a meeting with someone in there, and I was proud to see the change. He's doing an amazing job. And Hugh Jones, another success story from the province pipeline.
Well, we'll watch that space as far as Dobson walking to the POKERBET office goes. And, see what you guys come up there. Oricopedia, when he's on the show, people often say he gets 3 times the words in than everyone else. Look at his comment on the live chat, G.
Yeah.
I'd need about 5 minutes to read that one, Oracle. No, I'm only kidding, mate. Keep it going. And, right, Harry, let's get your views on this one. Game of the weekend, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's the one I'm the most confident about in a betting sense. I would definitely back the Scots on this one. I think part of that line is that the Irish really are that good in a general sense, but I think the matchup here is a problem for them. Number one, this is an actual World Cup preview. So Gregor Townsend is much more fired up for this, has been doing much more analysis around this match. To Ireland, Ireland's been focused on All Blacks, Springboks, and French, whereas for Scotland...
Oh, no. Where's Harry?
Harry disappeared. We'll bring him back to get his views on that one. Let me just take the Sorry, there's a bit of moving around by my part. I'll just take the branding. I'm just actually going to take it down, and when Harry gets back, we can bring it back up. But there he is. He's back. Yeah. Harry, you back? Hey, sorry, man. You just disappeared for a sec.
No, it's okay. So I think the Scottish have been planning on this one for a long time because it's their survival. Can you emerge from Pool B? It rests on this. They don't. I don't think they can actually power a game against the Boks, so they know that it's going to be their fellow Celts. I think Finn Russell has an interesting change in his play. He's a carrier this time. He's doing a lot more carrying of the ball and doing very well at delaying that final flip. So he's doing well. I think there's a personal challenge here about being the best number 10 in the comp. I think Finn Russell thinks that. I think Finn Russell wants to show that. And so for me, there's a good matchup here. One thing is the Scottish pack has been outperforming. So they've been working hard, getting over the ball. The line-out's been superb. I think this is one where it'll come down to a final kick, a kick one way or the other. I'm not even sure who would win the match, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as the bookies say for Ireland.
This could definitely be one of those games where you either want to look at a team by 1 to 12 or alternatively either team by sort of 7 or less, because that's how close it's going to be. And quickly, Harry, if I had to push you on the points line, I mean, 44.5 is not a high margin, but in a really tight Six Nations game, 44.5 is quite a few points, I think.
Yeah, but the way these guys play, I think I'd go more. I think they're going to exceed that, and that's partly just because they really have been scoring tries. To put them together, and they're, over 20 together. So I think there's going to be tries. The midfields are lethal. A guy like Duhan, as I call the Afrikaner android, he cannot be stopped. So it's just a matter of, can Finn get Duhan the ball more than Sexton can give Ringrose the ball? Like that kind of game here. I don't think either of them can keep the other one off out of the try line.
Right, well, we're going to move on now to Super Rugby. We will come back probably to a bit of Six Nations when we wrap it up with the best bets. Harry, I'm going to start with you on this one. The Chiefs, they've been in brilliant form. Crusaders 31-10. They beat them on the road. They then did the business against Pacific, although not from a handicap perspective. It was sort of 24.5, and I think they won by 24 exactly. But after romping through the first half, they stepped off the gas. They are 18.5-point favourites against the Highlanders. There has been money here for the Highlanders. I think it was as big as plus 23.5 early in the week. Yeah. So there's money coming for the Highlanders, not to win the game, but just to maybe stay within the 20 points. What are your views on this one? Is there any chance the Hurricanes can rock up here? I mean, the Highlanders, sorry.
The Highlanders can from time to time. The problem is the Chiefs are really good this year. They are better than predicted. They look like the title favorites. That's pretty fair. I would say that 18.5 is a really good. That's a tricky one. I do think the Chiefs know how to score in a hurry. The Highlanders don't have a lot of All Blacks this season, and they're just weak. They're weak up front. So I would probably go Chiefs, but not very much.
Right, not a confident call there. Darren, yourself on this game as a bookmaker, you've obviously seen the money coming for the Highlanders.
Yeah, I mean, they selected a bit better, like Mitch Hunt, and a little bit better, in terms of selection. But I agree. I mean, Chiefs win this comfortably. If you're gonna win this on the Highlanders, they probably lose by 14, 15. But I generally think this is about right. And often the Chiefs just pull away. Mackenzie realizes he's having a field day, and they get into the 20s. So I would, it's about right. 18.5, 23.5, maybe. Highlanders a little tempting, but yeah, as I say, comfortable win for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I do like the Chiefs. I like the Landers at the early sort of plus 23.5.
Yeah.
And then also I know Henrik Swart, the Undertaker's watching at the moment. We both like the Highlanders points over 19.5. But Henrik, have you got an update on the weather for us there, mate? Because like you, I agree with the Highlanders change are good, but I was a bit concerned about the weather. Although these New Zealand sides can often play in any sort of weather and some are turn in a high-scoring game. So at the moment, I'm on the Highlanders 19.5. I did hear that line had shifted down, and I'll just get the Undertaker's views on that one. Darren, let's stay with you for the next game. It's the Rebels up against the Waratahs. I handicapped this game in the Good for the Game forum plus 2.5 Rebels. So I was quite surprised when it opened plus 8.5.
Yes.
Having said that, I'm acknowledging probably that the handicap's now about right at plus 5.5. What are your views?
I think you slightly closer. For me, 3.5 around there. I think that Rebels game was very interesting. The second half, they were, way more improved against the Hurricanes. I found the Australian teams to be generally weak. Even the Tars against the Fiji game was very interesting. They were like, the Fiji the Drua just tired in the last 20 minutes, but up until then, it looked like the Fiji team were going to actually win. Tars was just weak. So I actually think, not that I'm very keen on many bets on the Super Pacifica, but if you had to, this probably on the weekend is the one I would go for, the Rebels plus 5.5. I think that it'll be very close. Australian derbies per se, well, in Melbourne, they're well improved, and I think they'll beat the plus 5.5.
Yeah, it's one of those things, the Super Rugby Pacifica, we're 2 weeks in, but if you try to read form lines as if you were a horse racing punter, you'd be thrown totally off because you go, geez, the Rebels lost to the Force, who went down by 49 points to the Reds. But then the Rebels almost beat the Hurricanes, who hammered the Reds by something like 34. So very difficult to read form. I'm leading Rebels at home here on the handicap as well, and I actually think this could be an unders game. I think this could be. We've had high scoring games, and the weather doesn't look too bad in Melbourne, but I've got a feeling this could be more of your typical Aussie derby, what we used to talk about a few years ago, with perhaps a little bit of a scrap. But let's get Harry Baldy Jones's views on this one. What do you think, Harry?
I wrote this down as a squeeze match. I'm looking at 2 or 3 points max difference. I think they play each other down. They almost bring each other down to the worst common denominator in some of these Aussie derbies, and it'll be a lot of chest bumping and alpha male stuff. I think there's going to be some cards. I think it's going to be one of those matches that's kind of an ugly one too.
Well, Fareed not mincing his words, he says Kane's got cards, Rebels are crap. I take it that means you're on the Waratahs. I guess the problem is I don't disagree with Fareed there. The only thing is I'm not so sure the Waratahs are kind of that great themselves. But anyway,
Right.
we'll see what happens on that one. Let's bring you in for the next game. There's also been a bit of a handicap shift here. I think it was about 22.5 Crusaders. There's been some money for the Drua. It is being played at the home game for the Drua. There's going to be all sorts of humidity there. So the points line of 58.5, I'd be very wary to climb in on the overs. Harry, what do you think of this? Can the Fijian crowd lift their team to some sort of result against Crusaders, even if it's just a handicap result?
No, if we were talking about the first half, I think maybe we could have an anomaly score, but the full match, Crusaders quality will come through. I do think the Satyrs have a lot of support in Fiji, so it's not going to be a totally kind of a one-sided crowd. But I think the problem is, even if you start badly, in the end, the superior fitness, skill, and cohesion is going to take place. I will say this, the Drua is much better this year than previous year on forward, line out, scrum. I just think that's the problem, is in the area of the set piece, over the 80 minutes, Crusaders win going away. Now, I don't love that spread there. I think maybe Drua could make that interesting, because if they come through oranges and it's about 2 or 3 points, and all that emotion of pulling off a really big one, I could see Crusaders struggling to cover the 18.5.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys I've seen that are leaning towards the Drua on the plus there. Darren, any views on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, I would go the plus for sure. At home there, they'll be up for it. They love to play the New Zealanders. And as I said, against the Tars for the first 55, 60 minutes, they were the better team. They really were. And just the last 20 minutes. But now back at home, I expect them probably, I don't know, between 8 and 15, maybe 8 and 13 they'll lose by.
Yeah, and just from what Harry said there and what you sort of rubber stamping, Darren, I mean, other punters, I don't know if the price is readily at hand, but something like a Fijian Drua, you'll probably get plus 8.5 on the halftime handicap. Or if you fancy the Crusaders book there in the second half, there are some bookies who offer the second half handicap before the game. So you could, for example, get them at probably about minus 9.5 for the second half. So plenty of opportunities for punters. And let's not forget the points lines as well. Darren, I'm going to stay with you for the next game. Hurricanes against the Blues. There has been a handicap shift in this game. At open minus 2.5, I actually priced this game at Blues minus 7.5. So I was quite surprised by the minus 2.5. So it took some of that. It has moved to 4.5, where it appears to have stabilized. And we've got a points line of 55.5. What do you think of this one? Artie Sevilla, of course, out for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a big one. I mean, Artie Sevilla is just he's the heartbeat of that Hurricanes team. I think I really like the Blues. Very sharp. Nice that you got on there early. Would have loved a bit of that. Blues minus 2.5. But I think the Blues will win this. Wasn't very impressed with their loss to the Brumbies. I mean, it was very disappointing, that performance, but I do think they'll bounce back, and I expect them to win that game.
Right, WJ is just asking, has the Conductor knocked it on the head with the handicap? The handicap's an amateur show, and what's happened is the Conductor has gone professional. You now have to, you can subscribe to get his tips, and he's very good at it. So I'm sure you'll do very well. But obviously, the people who subscribe to him are not going to be too happy if he's on my show or our show, giving all the tips away that other people are not paying for. So the Conductor is there. I still chat to him a lot on Twitter and on WhatsApp, and certainly hope he does make the odd guest appearance with his Tafel lager on the show. Let's have a look here. Harry, I don't think I've asked you on the Hurricanes Blues yet. Are you in agreement with the money that's coming for the Blues?
Yeah, all Blues. I think the Blues will bounce back. I think they developed a lot of opportunities against the Brumbies and just fudged it. So I think it's going to be a big win. I'm very comfortable with this one. I would put some money on this one. Blues.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of rubber stamping from the boys in the live chat there as well. Right, now we're moving to the Australian Derby. The Brumbies last week, of course, they beat the Blues 25-20 in Melbourne. That was a game of two halves. If I've seen one, I don't know how many points. Were there any points in the second half? I'm not too sure. I think it was, you back overs in that game. You're sitting on 40-odd points at halftime. You think you're absolutely home and hosed. And there was nothing, Harry, in that second half. Were there any points? I can't even remember. Maybe
Brumbies scored, but the Blues did not. Yeah,
the Blues did not. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we got the Brumbies -5.5 against the Reds, points 55.5 here. The Reds very disappointing in their opening game against the Hurricanes, but they brought in some personnel last week, and they certainly were a lot better, beating the Force and racking up 70 points. This is probably the game, Harry, that's going to tell us which is the top Australian team.
Yeah.
And I find myself leaning towards the Brumbies here.
Yeah, the Brumbies are the most fundamentally sound Australian team. And I think they're deep, so there's no fall off when you go to the bench. I think that's the problem for the Reds. They have a little bit of a problem with depth, and there's also kind of this whispering about Brad Thorne. Should he come? Should he go? Do they like him? Do they not like him? I don't really love that. Anytime a team is actually having this kind of drama, melodrama in the locker room. So I would say Brumbies will handle this.
Right, Darren, yourself on this one?
I'm always scared of Aussie derbies. Just they always fail to live up to the imagination. There's always something, I don't know. They really just throw up those boring games. But yeah, I can see, for me, if there's an unders in the first half in points, I think it'll be very tight. And then I expect the Brumbies in the second half to pull away slightly. But if you find a market with under points in the first half in there, probably like that. I reckon, as I said, it might be a bit boring first half, and then the Brumbies maul and will come into play, and a few gaps open with the depth that the Reds lack a bit.
Well, we're going to go into the Force game now. Just a few questions in the live chat about when the Undertaker will return to the show. So just to confirm, the Undertaker is definitely going to be back on soon. As soon as our schedule sort of work out together, we'll have him on for the games. He took a bit of a break, as if I could say, all good punters should. If things are not going wrong, not going your way, the best thing to do, and I'm sure, Darren, you'll agree with this, and it applies to poker as well. You're on a bad run. The wise and sensible thing to do is to take a step back. Just take a hobby or something like that. Go fishing, as I know Hendrik does, and then come back a few weeks or a couple of months later, whatever. And I know Oracle does this as well. Come back fresh. I mean, I'm sure you've had that a few times in your poker career as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%. It's one of those weird things. Gamblers actually do it the wrong way. When you're on form and they're winning, they lock up the money and that's it for the weekend. And when they're losing, they literally look for any game. I mean, whatever's next on TV and just too far and fun.
You just described
exactly. I know that, right? It's like that 10 p.m. Pro 14. It's why golf is so big, right? Sunday night, get out stakes. Anyone in 5-1 shot, 2 off the lead, fine, or So it's I think what's interesting is, and that's why, as it's cool, we're going through a lot of games, is try pick 1 or 2, make maximum 3. I even want to go play those games, watch the rest of the games because you enjoy rugby. Often there might be an in-play spot. You might be, actually, I don't know, Wales scored an intercept try or lucky to be up 10 by, and you might take a halftime thing. Also, one thing when you overcommit or you have a very strong opinion, you might see the gameplay and the dynamics change. You might feel that, geez, Marcus Smith just looks off, or the pressure's a lot, and he's been told by Borthwick to kick, right, and not playing his natural game. So there's a lot of assumptions that we make here, and I think it's also important to live when you're watching, I just find this generally, I get a good feel for what's happening. You know, is there, whether it's the ref, is it scrum domination that, never in the second half, they're just going to crumble. So, I think even though we go through a lot of games, I just think pick your one or two and then work from that base.
Quick question for you from the live chat, Darren. Nathan Madamson asking, what's your rugby betting uptake been? I mean, I know you guys have started predominantly as a poker website, but you do, of course, have rugby, and that is it something that you're looking to expand on, or is it
definitely? It's actually been picked up a lot. It's been popular. I mean, rugby is just one of the most popular. Rugby and cricket generally for us. Obviously, some of the other sites where they're multis and that are more soccer, but don't worry, we had a visit from. I laugh. I told them I'm very friendly with what's those youngsters who do the sevens. Oh my word! On Twitter, those professional guys.
Son of the punt guys. Son of the
yes, son of punt. Anyway, very friendly with them. They came and found some pocket money in the first week or two. Slowed them down a bit, but we had about a lot of people on that. Generally we're happy. I mean, we're happy to do it. Happy to just accommodate. It's grown a lot. It's popular. Definitely the URC and Six Nations way more than sort of the Pacifica. But we're looking to grow all the time, looking to just get more into the rugby. I mean, there's a big correlation, I said, between sport and poker in terms of the sport, the competitiveness. Looking to grow. It's been very nice. The rugby has been good.
Excellent. Well, let's go on to the last Super Rugby game now. Western Force, gee whiz, -6.5 against Moana Pacifica. I just can't. After last week, I could never back the Force, Darren.
No, I mean, jeez. But it's scary because I don't even know what to think of this Moana Pacifica, right? I just feel like they were, in the first game against Fiji, then they were starting off well. Yeah, Lafano looks like there's that, they just, what's that wing's name, who's an absolute beast. Can't even pronounce his name, but it's impossible to get down. But, these teams, the Western Force just ball them, get it into mauls, get into set pieces, and that's where these Pacifica teams struggle. So, really, I'm going to have to be desperately in the hole to try punt that game. But, probably that will be definitely one I'm staying out personally.
Excellent. Well, before I bring Harry in there, question asked about Currie Cup. We will talk briefly about the Currie Cup. And I say briefly because anybody who claims to know much going into this Currie Cup is probably kidding themselves. But we'll look at a couple of early prices and just have a very quick chat about it. Let's get Harry's views, though. Western Force -6.5.
Yeah, so I do follow the Moana Pacifica quite closely. I'm actually working with them a little bit on one angle, so I know them pretty well. They actually had a lot of continuity from year to year, so they're going to be better this year. They have good forward structures now. I think that's going to be okay. I think Moana Pacifica is going to handle this. I think Force is really not a very good team, and I think that it's going to show up in this match. I think sometimes Pacific Island teams do take a little bit of time to gel, but I think you're going to see a good match from Wanaka. Now, gun to my head, I wouldn't put a lot of money on this match in general, just because there's a high degree when you have these two awkward teams. The Force plays awkward. It always makes teams play bad against them. But I think Pacifica will win the match. I'm not sure about the points, 59. That sounds a little bit out of whack.
Right, let's go down to the Currie Cup. And just want to I'm going to mute Darren and say can't respond to this. I'm just going to say Darren has offered a points line of 40.5 across the board in all three Currie Cup matches. Absolutely no limits at POKERBET. So Darren, I reckon if you did that, you'd be out of business. You'd be out of business. I guess the first thing to say about the Currie Cup is, hey. Yeah, I didn't even realize it was starting. I started the Good for the Game forum thread, and I didn't mention the Currie Cup. And then someone came in below and said, Currie Cup starts this weekend. I was like, wow. I didn't even realize. But looking forward to it. It's always a lovely competition. I do enjoy it. We've got the Pumas who beat the Griffons last year in the final, so they're the defending champs. But these opening lines, and we'll run through them now, starting with you, Darren. Griffons +1.5 against Cheetahs. I actually think this has moved a little bit even since I got it in, but it's very much a choice game, this one. But so, until you've seen the first week, maybe two, you're very difficult to make a call.
My actually recent strategy is Pumas and Griffons, just because, now the Cheetahs, it's just generally they don't, obviously they keep what they got, right? It's really the Vodacom Cup for the big four unions. Obviously the Cheetahs, obviously caught in a rock and a hard place. They get a bit of Europe, so they always be scary and they'll be good. But whenever I look without knowing too much, I just want to be on the plus. If I can find a plus on the Griffons or Pumas. But if you put, forcing me to have a bet, I'd like to watch. I don't know. I actually haven't seen if any of you guys seen team news for this Griffons game. I'd like to see what the cheaters come out with.
I haven't seen much in the way of team news. I can say, I know that all of you bookies, and I totally understand this, you'll be out very late with points lines and that, because it really is a tricky one. If anything, and Harry, I was saying I'm leading cheaters here, and I'll tell you why, because they were sort of had competitive rugby not that long ago, when they were playing in the Challenge Cup. But yes, I don't know. I'm leaning toward them. Leaning them, but this is not a game you want to get too involved with, or not an opening weekend you want to get too involved on the handicaps.
No, I wouldn't even bet a cup of rooibos tea on this one.
Let's have a look at the odd live chat comment here. Stephen Marks saying nibble on Griquas. Farid says cheaters are good things. And Pierre Killian, also a guest on the show, it says the cheaters should be half decent. So if forced to bet, I'm betting cheaters. But we'll run through these Currie Cup games, because they're certainly not ones we're going to get too involved in. Harry, the Sharks minus 13.5 against the Griffons. I mean, we already know the Sharks B team struggle in the URC. Call it the B team when they don't have their Springboks. And now we got their almost second/third stringers playing here against the Griffons, who are also known as the Purple People Eaters, if I'm not mistaken. They're from Welkom in the Northern Free State. But I've known nothing about the Griffons. They haven't played Currie Cup rugby in recent memory. And now it looks like, let me just get rid of this one. It looks like Darren has just disappeared there. They haven't played Currie Cup for ages. Any views on this? I would just say, based on the fact that it's the Sharks' virtual third team, Griffons slightly on the plus if I had to have a bet.
Yeah, the first thing, my reaction was which Sharks, because there's a big difference between the real Sharks and they have a big drop off. I probably would, gun to head, I would say Griffons to get inside that 13.5.
Yeah, it's just one of those games you pray no one ever really does put a gun to your head.
Yeah.
So you have to make it because Darren, I actually thought you left the show there because you just didn't want to talk about the Griffons.
This is really, I don't want to tip every plus. But I've had your show profit on every plus, But I agree. I can't imagine what the Sharks are even going to put out.
It's going to be very interesting indeed. We'll stick with you for the next game. Golden Lions plus 1.5 against Western Province. Same comments apply. We don't really know the strength of the team. One thing I will say is that Western Province generally have strength in depth coming through from the school system and that sort of stuff. But I looked at last year's Currie Cup log. Lions were bottom. Western Province was second from bottom. Darren, are you there?
Now I'm back. I don't know what's happening here. Shit. I can't go into my beloved Province. I looked at this and just... Again, I'm just going to hope that our pipeline at the provinces with no money that we somehow producing, the next generation. But again, a lot of it for me is just watching the team news and what's out there. So I don't have a strong enough opinion. You really scrape at the barrel here. But I would try and see team news. And again, with these things, I really think also one thing with punters is you just don't have to bet pre-match, right? It's a big thing. Like, if you really want to and you watch this game and you get a feel, you'll be able to pick up quite a few things, even identify the next generation of talent. But you'll in play, generally every single site offers it. Maybe watch for 10, 15 minutes, get a feel, and then jump on.
Right. Let's go up to Harry on this game. Lions against Western Province, Harry.
For no reason, for no empirical reason, for no number reason, for no stat reason, Province. Always.
Province.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. I'm also leaning towards Province there as well. And then Harry will finish from your point of view on the Currie Cup. Bulls at minus 3.5 against Pumas. Pumas, beaten finalists last year when I actually expected them to beat Griquas in the final. Or did they win? Sorry, did they win? Henrik will tell me. I know he remembers. But I think they did win it in the end. And I recall them celebrating now. I'm actually saying that the Bulls as well haven't been playing good rugby, and this is also really testing their depth.
Yeah, if I was having some fun and I want to take a little ride on something, this is the one I would go, Pumas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Possibly even on the board. I've got a feeling Henrik's going to agree with us on that one. And then final comment for you on that, Darren. If you hear noises in the background, Eskom, I finally switched my power on.
Very nice. Well done. As I said in the beginning of this Currie Cup, you go for Griffons and you go for Pumas, you'll show a profit on the season. Who's now? I think it's Sean Everett went from the Sharks across to work. Is that what I saw?
Bulls.
Someone, at the Bulls there. So don't know what he's going to do. He did a terrible job at the Sharks. So can't imagine what magic he's going to create there. But for me, Pumas, keep going on the Pumas.
Nathan just confirming the Pumas are the defending champions. Jimmy Stonehouse, the coach, singing Sweet Caroline at halftime. Brilliant, yes. I'd suddenly blanked on that, even though I do remember that quite well as well. Books might get caught cold in Super Rugby, says they're killing with the points. So, Currie Cup as well. I mean, this time of year, the Currie Cup points, and I say this time of year because sometimes towards the end of the year, the caps get a little bit lower. We'll see what the bookies come out with the points lines there. Henrik and Alan both say Cade Voliter at fly half for Western Province is going to be big. But that brings us to the end there. I just want to bring up one comment from early in the show. We're not going to have time to talk Gallagher Premiership, but WJ is saying he likes Northampton -7. Weather predicted to be saggy this weekend, and he also likes Sale on the handicap there at +2.5. But anyway, we've had a big show tonight, and Oracle, I know you've been watching, and I appreciate it in the live chat. If we'd had you on there, I can tell you there's no ways we would have been able to wrap this many games up so quickly. But it's been great chatting with you guys. And
thank you.
Let's go to our best bets now. Let me just find the.
Obviously put like 30 seconds. I must say it's been really exciting as a Bok fan. Pollard seems to be finding a bit of form again, coming back. I must say that's something that. Watching, that's good timing. He's going to be a lot fresher. He's finding form. Love that he's playing with Vista there, so we're excited about that.
Excellent. Now, Darren, your best bets the weekend, and you're welcome to throw something from. Tell me you fancy in the players and that as well. I know it's underway, but anything else that you might fancy?
No. Scotland, all the way Scotland plus whatever 6.5, 7, whatever you can get. That's where we're going. That and
the first week you were on, you liked Scotland against England. The first week you were on the show, you made that the best bet. And
I did indeed. So it's a trend. And we showed a result there. So yeah.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. Just to mention, if you haven't opened a POKERBET account yet, there's a link down below the show. You can click on that, go onto the article of Good for the Game, and click on any one of those links to open your account, and then take advantage of that 1,000 rake, 5,000 Rand deposit bonus. Stephen Mark saying Blues are his best bet, but let's see what Harry fancies as his best pick for the weekend.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be so agreeable with Darren, but it's Scotland all the way for me as the best bet, and it's also the Blues. So I would go Scotland and Blues, both blue teams.
It's funny because I'm also nodding my head a lot on this show. I'm agreeing with both of you guys. I know if I could say the majority of the guys in the live chat agree as well. And I've got a good old mate of mine, Brendan O'Connell, who's a veteran punter, and he always says, Brent, when everyone agrees, he says, I get worried. It's a trap. But plenty of alignment this week. But thanks a lot, guys. It was really, as Hendrik said, impressive. We kept the show under an hour, and I think we got a lot of detail in there at the same time. But first of all, to yourself, Darren, thanks very much. It's been great having POKERBETs on board, and look forward to talking Six Nations next weekend as well. Have a cracking weekend. You coming up for some poker tournaments, eh?
I'm flying up tomorrow to Pretoria. Yeah, playing an event there. So I'll be multitasking. Don't worry. I make sure they put the rugby on the TVs there. So rugby in the background, poker on the table. That'll be a good weekend.
That's the life. I can tell you after my poker game last night, a live poker game, my monthly game, I won't be going to any tournaments this weekend. I'm absolutely cleaned out. And Harry, what are you up to this weekend?
No, I'm maxing out on the Six Nations, and I hope to get to one of the Six Nations matches live. But this weekend's going to be watching the Palms and the French.
Excellent. It's going to be great. Gents, thanks very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you
guys for our chat. We'll see you
Cheers,
next week for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters.
Yeah.